Good afternoon, everybody. It is December 20th, Tuesday, 2022. This is the special meeting of the Advisory Board of Health. Members present, myself, Kevin Cunningham, James Patrick, Andy, Christine, Dr. Michelli, and we have staff of David. First order of business is to review and approve the September minutes. I distributed them out after the meeting, and they have been up on our website, marked as draft. Any changes to the September minutes? Great. So just give me a hands up. Approve the minutes. Approved unanimously. Great. The second order of business is the review of our 2023 meeting dates. I think this date is kind of working okay. So in keeping with the quarterly second Tuesday at 5 p.m., the following dates I will submit for Tuesday, March 14th. This will all be in the minutes of this meeting. Tuesday, March 14th, Tuesday, June 13th, Tuesday, September 12th, and Tuesday, December 12th. We can obviously amend those if we need to, but that will follow our regular cadence for these meetings. Next order of business is the report from Director of Health. So David, take it away.
All right, well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everybody. There are a couple things that I'd really like to kind of discuss with you. First of all, first order of business, I think, is I'd like to talk about what we're going to do going forward with our seasonal flu vaccine program. We have seen a tremendous drop-off in interest in vaccine from the community. And consequently, we have also seen what we had always had as a stabilized balance in our flu fund essentially disappear. What's happened over the last 3 years or 4 years or so, when you see that those numbers start really declining from 2019 with the fiscal year balance, those are dollars, is that we started giving vaccine free to first responders, post-53 firemen, and town employees, even if they weren't on insurance part-time. So what we found was that a great deal of the vaccines that we were giving out, we were not recovering any cost for. And so, as you can see, we have used up a lot of money. The other thing that we have found is that even the town employees who are on Connecticut, who typically in the past we had gotten reimbursed for, Connecticut isn't covering or refunding our money because of folks being on the high deductible. So we're not recovering insurance reimbursements from Connecticut for employees. So that combined with the fact that there's a reduced demand, and you can see this year we went way down. We had clinics even in the senior center, and it was the weakest year we've ever had. I think did 50 or 52 vaccinations in the senior center. In past years we did well over 100. So we're way down. And as you know, I mean, if you go into any of our pharmacies, vaccine is readily available in the pharmacies at all times, pretty much. So the question comes up about, do we continue this program? It's losing money, and it really, there's very little demand for it. And we could, our time to be able to offer clinics is limited. We do 5 clinics on random days for a couple hours a day. It's not particularly convenient to folks. And because of the cost factor and fairness to the community, in this past year too, we also eliminated free vaccine for employees. That was a decision from basically upstairs. Anyway, that's where we are. So I make a recommendation at this point that based on the decline in demand and the costs to the department and to the town, that the seasonal flu vaccine clinics, we just discontinue them going forward. And I would
So it's the due to the decline in demand, the cost to the town, and that vaccine is readily available elsewhere.
Yes.
David, is there any cost if you were to just invite a nurse from Walgreens to come and do a clinic?
We have to buy the vaccine. So it's not an issue. That's not the issue. The issue is the logistics behind why would we, I guess we have nurses, and we have nurses that would come in. I mean, and we obviously pay the nurses, but in addition, we're buying the vaccine. So that the revenue issue is primarily the cost of our cost of vaccine. It's not so much the cost of the staff. That cost factor is not that significant.
So I guess so Walgreens wouldn't come with the staff person and their vaccine, and they just collect and basically do everything as if someone's walking into their pharmacy.
Well, we could ask them if they'd be interested in doing that. I know I've spoken with Greaves about doing something like that, but they don't really have the extra staff to come on board and come in. And, again, it's sort of like, why would they, I think that I could hear the rationale behind saying, well, we're open all the time. Why would we come to the town hall and administer vaccine? It's going to cost us time and money to have our staff go there, especially if nobody shows up, because, we were there on election night, and we thought, because it was really busy election day. I mean, town hall was hopping, it was a very busy election time. And when people came in and we were trying to say, you have to give us an insurance, we'll give you an insurance voucher. You can, put in your claim to get reimbursed, or, we'll collect your card. People just turned around and walked out. They weren't interested, because they said, oh, we'll just go downtown and we'll go to CVS or someplace else, So we ended up closing that clinic early because we had 3 nurses there expecting to be busy, and we were busy redirecting people is really what we did. It just didn't happen. So, I think, we're kind of seeing like the writing on the wall. We're not serving the purpose that we used to do, because this vaccine is just, as I said, so readily available through the pharmacies, and the pharmacies accept all insurance for the most, they really do. And we don't, we are only taking Medicare and Connecticut. And now with finding out that with Connecticut and the high deductibles, people still aren't, they have to pay, and they don't want to. So, I mean, I can't say I blame them.
How about this, David? How about we make a motion, recommend that due to decline in demand, the cost to the town, and that the vaccine is available elsewhere, the ABH is going to recommend discontinuing the town-sponsored seasonal flu vaccine clinics for 2023. However, we will review this going forward. We can obviously change our mind if there is some kind of decline in the availability in the area. But for 2023, we will not plan it, but we will on a yearly basis or more frequently review that policy depending on circumstances. Is that reasonable for everybody?
And may I suggest too that should circumstances change where vaccine isn't readily available in the pharmacies, and we're the go-to like it was at the beginning of COVID, then obviously, under special circumstances like that, we would step up and do that.
Okay.
But with widespread availability of vaccine, it does seem that at this point, the fact of us being out there is it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
All right. Does anybody have any issues with that? Everybody want to give
I
a,
think that sounds okay. I would like to see it revisited, as David said, if there's something that comes up, and things change that we can. How far in advance would you have to order vaccines if we needed to change our minds about this for some reason or other?
The vaccine order date is in March.
Oh, in March. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but what we're talking about, as far as a special circumstance, then that would probably be something that would be administered through the state and through the federal government. If there was a shortage of vaccine, let's say seasonal vaccine, then like with COVID, we were basically the first responders. And if that should happen with seasonal vaccine, then we could certainly do that. And we wouldn't be stuck with this kind of 6 months in advance. And that was the other part of this whole difficulty is that you have to project 6 months ahead of time what the demand might be. And, and if we're off with our projections and not as many people come in as vaccine that we order, that vaccine, we do get a credit, but it's certainly not the amount of money if we return it that it cost us to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So
sounds like a good plan then to
okay, yeah.
change that. And yeah, okay, thank you.
any objections to that? Okay, so I'm going to say unanimously approved for that motion. Okay, great. Thanks, David.
All right, thank you. I did want to share this statement from the governor recognizing the Darien Health Department for special recognition, National Public Health Workers Day, and it really has to do a lot with the response to COVID. And I don't want to say that Darien Health Department was the only department in the state that received this, but it was really great to have the governor recognize the work local health departments did in COVID response over the past couple of years. It sort of felt for a while as though our efforts were being sort of overlooked from that upper echelon. But this is something that I think that we're all very pleased that the governor recognized, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. That this is the official proclamation.
Well done.
Thank
I think
you.
that's really great. It goes to show that we were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, we had a lot of learning to do, and I still, I've said it all along that I want to commend the volunteerism of the town, because our department is, and we'll get into that, is a small department. We have 2 full-time people, and we managed to have the 65 or 66 clinics and administered 9,000 doses, and a lot of that was due to the organization. Well, it was coordinated by our department, but a lot of volunteers, and we couldn't have done it without the volunteers, and we couldn't have done it without the cooperation and willingness of staff to be there for the duration, and we were. So it was in some respects it's in the rearview mirror, but then again, we don't know that for certain. The other thing that I'm proud of that we did is that years ago, I think a few years ago, I know that I presented to the board that we were engaged with a couple other health departments in doing a DNA source tracking study for bacteria in Goodwise River. Well, we submitted when I say we cooperated with the health department in Westport and Brantford and researchers out of Yale, and put together a report of our findings. And it made the cover of the journal, this month's Journal of Environmental Health. That's the cover, and it's Mindy's. I took a picture of Mindy's magazine, but we're very proud of that. We've gotten some traction on it. We've been contacted by a couple of different reporters. There was an article in the Connecticut Examiner last week, and we just provided a list of answers to questions that were posed by Hearst Media. So there's going to be another article coming out on that. And we hope to be able to expand the work that we did to come up with some more definitive answers. Just to kind of give a little bit of background, what prompted this is that, there's a lot of push to regulate septic systems, and a lot of bad publicity being given to septic systems by researchers and other agencies. And when they do their modeling and the testing, and I say they, the experts, they're just taking biological loading, and they do use models to determine where they think bacteria are coming from. And in no cases were they ever evaluating the contributions made by wildlife, deer, rodents, birds. And so this study was an attempt to try to quantify the contribution of bacteria from different sources using DNA. And so what we found was, we really needed better sampling processes and an expanded sampling program. But we didn't find human sewage, human bacteria in the waste, in the water, but we don't know where the bacteria is coming from definitively. So we're looking for some support from agencies or businesses or, industries that are dependent on the, good waters and safe waters and clean waters of Long Island Sound to maybe fund an expansion of this kind of testing toolkit. So anyway, we're very pleased and proud that this made it into the Journal of Environmental Health. It's the first time that really this type of evaluative work has been done by local health departments, at least in Connecticut. And I'm not aware of it really being done widespread across the country. And it could be done anywhere where there's beaches, fresh water or salt water. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you as well. And some staff updates while we're at it, and then we'll talk about some. Okay, I want to just give you some updates on our staffing. I'll shut this off for now. Did an interview with Jim Cameron, Public Access TV. That was an hour long. God, I don't, just going over things that the health department does. He thought it came out pretty well, and I was pretty pleased with it also. So, but just to talk a little bit about our staff. Mindy got a Connecticut Environmental Health Association Scholarship Award. As you may know, she's going for a master's in public health, and so she got an award for that. She had gotten an award earlier this year from the National Environmental Health Association, and she should be finishing up her master's degree this spring. So that'll be great. She's been appointed to a statewide task force on workforce development. We're finding that people in the public health field, for various reasons, some may be COVID burnout, some may be retirement just naturally, or just the desire to change occupations. And then there's also not exactly a demand, people lining up to want to get into this business. So, so she's on a statewide task force on workforce development, which I think that's that's really critical work to be done. And I'm pleased that we'll have a hand in that as we go forward. And she's recently featured in a video on restaurant inspections, which is on our website. And we will be doing another video with next month that's going to focus on radon and radon testing. And so we'll be doing a video on that as well. And that'll be, she's good at it. She's really good at it. She does a great job doing these videos. And I think she, makes a good presentation for our department and for the town. And these videos are being used throughout the region. So it's a local regional health departments that are putting these things out. So it's not just us. And, Jim will also run them on Channel 79. Paula has been recently, our public health nurse has recently been certified as a mental first aid health trainer. And in collaboration with Human Services, they'll be offering courses to the public beginning in January. So that's also a big plus for the town and for the department. And she's spearheading the formation of a town hall medical emergency team to enable rapid response in the event of a serious medical event in the building or on town hall property until the first, just kind of bridge that time when something happens until the first responders get there so that we can have instantaneous response and kind of have people know what to do. We plan to have this functional in January. Lori, we're very fortunate to have Lori Romick, who used to be our food service inspector, who is still continuing to work remotely to do plan reviews of all the new food service and salon, cosmetology salon applications and all the new developments in town. She's doing that remotely. I don't know how we would do it without her help, frankly. There's so much going on, and there's so much detail with these new proposed facilities that her involvement is absolutely essential. Nick, our public health preparedness person, as you know, he has gone from being a independent contractor because of state directive. He is now a part-time employee working under grants exclusively. We're actually working to revise the public health annex to the town EOP. We had our meeting today, making some really good progress on that. Maybe Kevin, you can speak to a little bit about the Pod in a Box project, if you would.
Sure. So as you all know, back in the first quarter, we were approved for ARPA funds to set up essentially a mobile vaccine trailer where we could, if we were going to do another vaccine clinic like we did for COVID, and or hand out PPE, any type of one of those type of things. We call those a pod. Point of dispensing, so it can be anything. We are going to pre-buy a lot of those materials that we know that we would need. There's precedence for this. I've done a project like that in New York City. Nick has done a project like that in the state of Virginia. We have a list of materials we want to buy that was reviewed by the ARPA committee, the selectmen, the Board of Finance, this board, and ultimately the last step, David, was to go to, or James, Mac was supposed to go to the RTM, right, which they approved as well. We've had a little slow go in purchasing some of this stuff because you have to go through state bids, but really the first step is to buy the actual trailer to store this stuff in. Once we get the trailer, we will then start ordering the rest of the materials to go inside the trailer. So that trailer should be coming hopefully soon. We've put the order in. We've identified the vendor, those type of things.
In speaking with Nick recently, he indicated that the application and the kind of the specs were being done by DPW, by Brian at DPW, and that he's going to basically put it out to bid. So it's not really going out through us. It's going out, I guess he's representing the town as it's kind of a convoluted
Right.
process, but
There's two issues. One is that the town is already ordering another trailer much like that, so we can benefit from a kind of economy of scale jumping on with the existing trailer bids that we have. And two, we want to make sure that the town, particularly DPW, who is going to be responsible for maintenance and servicing the trailer if we ever need it, the wheels or whatever, that the specs meet their specs, so they can have spare parts and they have assurance that they can service that trailer too. So that's why we're doing that.
Yeah, Kevin, so I imagine some of the things that would be going into the trailer might have some expiration dates on it. For example, I don't know if you use sterile bandages or syringes or anything like that other than office supplies. But what I was wondering, is this trailer climate controlled, like temperature, or is it going to be sitting outside, 24 hours a day?
It is going to be sitting outside. It is not going to be temperature controlled. And it is really just hard supplies, Christine. There's no syringes, there's no Band-Aids, because we will get all of that stuff coming in through the Strategic National Stockpile, the SNS push. It is really kind of the administrative supplies that we would need
Okay.
to run a clinic.
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you, Kevin. The last thing I wanted to talk about with our staff is currently since the pandemic, we had made a change in our medical advisor. For years, Dr. Caleb Moore had served did a great job of serving as our medical advisor. And with the start of the pandemic, we basically had Dr. Kennefick, who was the Board of Ed medical advisor, also serve as the town's interim medical advisor. And that has worked out pretty well, and it seems to make an awful lot of sense, again, for scale and for just coordination purposes, to have the same individual serve as the town's medical advisor as well as the school's medical advisor. So currently his title is, in his contract with the town, is as interim medical advisor. And what I would request tonight is consideration of the board to change that and eliminate the interim from his title. We already have his job responsibilities spelled out, but I think that it's time, and he's been agreeable to it, and the terms are pretty good, are very good, really, for the town. So I would recommend that we eliminate interim from the title.
Okay, so the motion is going to be ABH recommends removing interim title for to just medical advisor for Dr. Kennefick. Any issues? You can get a hands up. Make that unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. So I will go to our big push for the year, which is a follow-up from last year, where we, in our budget, we had requested another position. We had anticipated that due to changing mandates, to expanded responsibilities this year, that we would need at least another person. So let me go down to, let's see here. So this is kind of what we're requesting this year. So we currently have a director of health. We have a full-time professional, our registered sanitarian, one person. We have a 0.75 person who's administrative clerical, who also does work for human services. And we have 3 part-time employees. One is a food service inspector. One is is Lori, who does the plan reviews from home. And then the other would be Nick. In this year's budget, what I'm proposing is we have a director of health and 2 full-time professional technical positions. And what I'm recommending is that we have a director of health, obviously, and that we elevate a position to assistant director of health. You may remember prior to, and I don't recall the date, but we had an assistant director of health in Barry Bogle probably about 8 years ago, prior to Mindy coming along. And we never filled that position, and we filled a full-time sanitarian position with Mindy. So what I envision the need to do is to add an assistant director of health and retain the full-time director's registered sanitarian position. We'll keep the administrative position the same at 0.75 and go from 3 part-time individuals to 2. The one that I envision not needing going forward would be our part-time food service inspector. Those responsibilities would be taken over by the sanitarian. And the assistant director of health, who would also need to be able to work in the field. That would be the way we would view that. So, and then the other part-time person would be our public health preparedness person, the part-time grant-funded position. So that's really not a budget item anyway, that part-time position. So that would be, and excuse me, actually, I shouldn't even mention that because the other part-time person is our nurse. So actually, our part-time planned in the future person would be our nurse, which would remain part-time, and our at-home plan review person. So we're going from, I'm sorry?
So just, David, just in terms of the recommendation from us, where you're asking for a recommendation of a full-time assistant director of health, a salary adjustment for the sanitarian position, and then an elimination of one of the part-time sanitarian positions.
That's correct.
Okay. And that's as per your recommendation and your budget proposal.
Right. And then here, part of the justification for it is our projected increase in responsibilities associated with the additional developments in town. So, you know, we're looking at a significant increase in food inspections. You know, with new facilities, they're tremendously time consuming because we're not just inspecting, you know, doing plan reviews. We have to go in and inspect these places as they're being fitted out, and then to make sure they're being done in accordance with the plan. And then after that, what we have to do is go in and when they open, you know, obviously they're going to be state-of-the-art facilities with the best equipment that you could get. But the problem is that we don't know if the people who are working in the place know how to handle food. So we spend a lot of time when a place opens ensuring that the staff understand how to safely prepare and serve food. And let me tell you, that takes a lot of time. And in today's world, as we all know, everywhere they're having trouble. In just about every industry, is having trouble finding qualified people who want to work. So this is becoming a even greater challenge to make sure that when a place opens, they have adequate staff that know what they're doing. And that takes a lot of time, and it's very time-consuming, intensive component of what we will be doing and what we do. And it's the same thing with these cosmetology salons. We're anticipating a significant increase. We had 8 new places open already this year. We've had 23 or 24 food service facilities that we've done plan reviews for. Not all of them have opened yet, but and that doesn't even count what's going on downtown and the Palmer's project, which is still upcoming. So in the next couple of years, we're going to see a significant need for additional just defined inspection work. Darien is a desirable place for businesses to come, and I don't see that changing as we go forward.
Okay, so the motion is now currently ABH recommends full-time assistant director of health and a salary adjustment for the sanitarian position, elimination of one of the part-time sanitarian positions within the department as per the proposed budget in response to new development in town, both now and in the near future. Any objections? We have a raise a hand. Unanimously approved. Okay, thank you, David.
All right, thank you all. Let's see, what else should I show you? We could talk a little bit about our favorite subject over the past 3 years, if you want. I think we need to. COVID. So since the beginning of time, we've had 4,586 positive test results that we know of. Those are laboratory confirmed tests. This has nothing to do with at-home testing since the beginning. Everybody's talking about the tridemic, the seasonal flu and the respiratory flu. We'll get to that in a minute. But just so that you could see where we are, this is a chart that shows the weekly.
David, we're not seeing anything.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Wow. Why? I wonder why. Let's see if
It's
this
fine.
works.
It's fine. Perhaps you can send it to us afterwards.
Let me see about this one.
Okay.
Just let me try one more if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Can you see anything there? Oh, I see why. I forgot to press the screen save button.
There you go. There it is. David, what was the number of total cases, total lab positive?
4,586. Can you see that? That shows up now, right?
There it is. Yep. Okay.
But this is interesting here. This particular chart gives kind of you can see where we are from a year ago. Now, again, the left is a year ago all the way to the left, and right is now. So we're seeing a little bump now, and I'm sure that probably the numbers are higher, with the at-home tests. But we anticipate, and everyone anticipates, that with the holidays and the holiday get-togethers, that the COVID numbers will go up. And just because we're all, we're getting together, we're indoors, and we're sharing space and everything else. But anyway, we're much lower this year with COVID than we were last year. So we've also been asked about, what's a safe way to get together through the holidays. And we did, Monica's newsletter is going to have an advisory that we put together. And I also on our website have some guidance and suggestions how to enjoy your holidays safely. But the biggest thing that I would suggest that people do is to test before you go to a party. Test before you have, you go to a dinner where you're getting together with folks. And if you test positive, don't go. So test kits are available. They're still free through federal government. If you don't have them, I think there's some in the town hall, but not many. So just our advice, my advice is before you get together, before you travel, and before you go back to work after the holidays, is test. Keep everybody else safe. Anyway, that's the COVID report. Any questions? Okay. And then a couple other final comments. We're in the process right now of renewing annual food service operating permits. That occurs every year at the end of December. The permits expire and need to be renewed for January 1st. This is the first time we've actually gone through and we have an online application and payment portal now. And it's interesting, we put it together, we did all the work learning how to use it, and we're all creatures of habit, right? So this year, almost everybody's still sending in checks. So, I'm sure that over time it's going to migrate over to the electronic platform. But, I just have to chuckle, we put a lot of effort into changing over a system, and, people are perfectly happy with what they've always done. So, but anyway, that'll change. And, again, this is the online portal's not just for food service, it's for everything. And it'll be for septic and any other services that we offer that we have fees for. And we have a bunch of fees. Cosmetology salons, we've completed the permit renewals. Those permits were renewed as of October 1st. And as I said, we have the largest number of salons in town that are open now than we've ever had, and there's still more applications pending. And I anticipate there'll be more once we get those other developments underway downtown at Palmer's. As I said, 38 new facilities in the past calendar year that we've been involved with. And that doesn't count just those, inquiries, about what's the permit requirement, what do we need to do to get permits to open in Darien. And of course, all the while we're still doing all our septic system and well plan reviews and inspections when needed. January, moving on. January is Radon Awareness Month, and I mentioned Mindy doing a video. Once again, we're partnering with the State Health Department to offer free radon test kits to residents. We haven't received them yet. They promised us that we would have them by now. They're on their way. I guess, everybody's shipping UPS these days, so, I don't know when they'll be here, but hopefully we'll be able to start giving these things out in January, and we'll do a press release when we receive them so that, people can test their homes. The good news is that, we've been doing this for years, and, radon is somewhat common, I'll say, commonly found on properties that have shallow depth of bedrock. And we have a lot of areas in town that are shallow to bedrock. Drive around, you see rock crops rock outcrops in a lot of places, but we have not found there to be a widespread elevated radon concentration in homes that are tested in town. That's the real good news, and that's not necessarily consistent with other communities in Connecticut. But we still advise people, especially when you're occupying the lower levels of the home, finished basements and whatnot, to have the homes tested for radon. As I said, we'll provide notice when we have the kits available. Finally, and not final because it's least important, it's really important. We're participating in health needs assessment with both Stamford Hospital, community health needs assessment, and hospital needs assessment for both Stamford and Norwalk Hospital. And we also did some work on our health needs assessment in town to update it. Last time it was done was 7 years ago. But we're also involved with the task force for mental health with the Human Services Department. And one of the directives from the task force was that we also do a mental health needs assessment. And I know I've mentioned it to the board in the past about doing a mental health needs assessment subsequent to the pandemic and what the impacts of the pandemic had on people's mental health in the community. And that was before we had the unfortunate suicides back in the spring. So right now we're actually doing some reviews of scope of service proposals from a couple of concerns who would conduct a mental health needs assessment in town. And we spoke with Monica and Kate, we being Allie and I, spoke with Monica and Kate the other day, and they had some questions that they wanted us to address prior to moving forward, and we're working on that right now. But hopefully we'll be able to move forward with doing the mental health needs assessment as part of our overall town health assessment over the next 6 months. That's the time frame that we were given. That's pretty aggressive for a really detailed needs assessment, but they feel that they can do it in that time frame.
David, the Board of Ed has recently hired a mental health director, to oversee the schools. Can there be any synergy with that person?
Oh, it absolutely would be, because they're part of the task force.
Okay.
So yes, absolutely. And the task force includes providers, local providers. And so the local providers and clergy. So, we're really going to try to mine as many sources of information as we possibly can in going forward with this to truly get a handle on, as best we can, what kind of the mood of the community is. So I'm pretty excited about moving forward with this. But absolutely, yes, Mac, the schools are a critical component and are very interested in working on this project. And I believe, let me go through my notes here, see if there's anything else that I wanted to bring forward. Nothing other than to say that we also participated in a townwide back in October, I think it was, time flies, November, with the kind of doing a preparation for emergencies response plan outreach for the public. And this was sponsored by Monica and for all department heads. And so we have a piece online. It's on the town website and also on the health department, giving advice to people, about planning in advance if there's a big storm, planning for extended power outages, some common sense advice in the event of flooding. We also did a presentation at the senior center on the same topic. So that was something else that we did. And as I said, information for the public on responding and preparing for emergencies is available on both the town and the health department website. And different agencies did their parts. Mark with the emergency response, his part, Public Works, and the police department all had a hand in developing what they do. Explain what the emergency operations center is and what we do, and like preparing for an emergency, how the town gets ready in the event of an upcoming storm. We've already started talking about the potential crazy weather this week, Thursday night, Friday. Big winds, heavy rains, and a big freeze after that. So hopefully, people start thinking about that right now. That it's going to get really cold after this weather front goes through on Friday. So if the power is out, get ready. And with that, any questions, comments, or suggestions, I'd appreciate.
That's great information, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, the 14th, 2023 at 5 p.m. I will work, David, with Michelle and the town to get a room and to get our 4 meetings formally submitted before the end of the year, as we are required to do. I forgot to mention that all of you have been re-upped for 2023, so I got an email this morning from Linda O'Leary, so everybody's official for 2023.
What's the old line? We can check in, but we can't check out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. David, unless there's anything else, we kind of just want to express our gratitude for all the wonderful work you and your staff do, and wish everybody a happy, healthy holiday.
Well, thank you. And I also, and the staff also appreciate your support. Thank you very much, everyone. And Kevin.
Absolutely. David, I'll send you these notes in a couple minutes.
All right. Best wishes.
Okay. Happy holidays.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye.
holidays, everybody. Thank you.